over to you.
Okay. Vic was going to start, but he is not informed. On the podcast today, we have Zaalo.
No.
Zaalo.
No, wrong again.
Motherfucker. Give me the, how do you say it?
Hey, I'll introduce myself for you. Save it. Save you the trouble. But my name is Zaalo. In the band, I go by Squilly Finesse, rhymes with strictly business. Spelled Squigly, but the G's are silent, which is going to be the name of my solo album. The G's are silent, and it's going to be like an old jazz record cover where I'm like sitting at a piano, pouring out a 40 onto the ground on the piano bench.
I like it. Yeah. Leisure suit time. Yeah.
I thought I got Zaalo right, but honestly, that was the best intro we've ever had out of like 70 episodes. And so I'm going to quit. Do you want to take over this podcast, man?
Yeah, I can just interview myself. I'm down. Let's make it happen.
You could literally just interview your band, and that would take up like 2 months. Like,
oh, God.
You have is it a 9-piece band?
We fluctuate anywhere from 6-piece to 42-piece. No, that's a lie. 6-piece to like 11 or 12.
So give us and I know they're on your website. Your website's cool. It kind of scrolls through the mainstays, I suppose. But give us the rundown of everybody and their interesting names and all that. Yeah,
so we all have kind of band aliases, and we've created this mythos around the band where we live at a 38-acre commune in Buda, Texas, which is a small town outside of Austin. We don't actually live there. This is all made up. But yeah, we have this fake commune, definitely not a cult, where we run and operate a click farming operation where we've trained cybernetic chickens to engage with our social media and basically, interact, click likes, comment on all our social media posts to give us kind of like some social proof. And that's how we've made our billions upon billions of money. And then everybody at the commune has a different role, different backstory. My name is Squilly Finesse in the band. My character is a multi-dimensional space kraken who's come to Earth to kind of inundate people with this new spiritual wisdom that kind of the acquisition.
So
what?
You're a Scientologist, is what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much. Actually, it's like exactly that, exactly kind of what they believe, that the acquisition of material wealth equals spiritual ascension. So,
right.
So you kind of hit it on the head with that.
Vic's a big Scientologist. He's always ranting about that religion on the show. So can't you tell by looking at him?
Yeah,
I think I've driven by that place. Yeah, it's right next to where you get your enemas, right, Skunk?
Yeah,
like across the street.
That is I always wondered what that big commune over there was.
I was wondering how long it would take to bring poop up in the podcast, and 3 minutes and 20 seconds is the answer to that.
It's actually a new record for us. I'm quite proud. Anyway, continue, sir.
Yeah. So then, I'm Squilly Finesse. Then we've got Tonto Luigi. We actually recently changed the spelling of his name to L'Ouiji. Originally it was spelled like Mario and Luigi, Tonto Luigi, but we realized we're a band called Mystics, and he's got Ouija in his name, and how did we miss that? So he recently changed the spelling of his name, but he's a space Scientologist prospector who basically goes to foreign planets and plunders their resources and basically performs archaeological digs on these foreign planets and mines different sound waves and stuff, and then sells them back to corporations back on Earth. So that's his vibe. He plays guitar, and he also is the kind of co-primary songwriter and records everything and mixes everything at his home studio.
Oh wow!
Then we've got Countess von Bupenstein. She is a self-help author. her famous book is From Selfish to Sociopath and 50 Easy Manipulations. That was kind of like a New York Times bestseller that put her on the list. And, you know, she's all about kind of COINTELPRO and, you know, brainwashing. She conducts mass hypnosis at our shows and gets people thinking things that they didn't even realize that they were thinking. And so she plays synth and also does vocals in the band. And then we also have Uchi Galuccio, who's another vocalist and synth player with us. And she was basically inundated into the cult by Countess von Bupenstein. You know, also is kind of about that brainwashing game. And then we had...
I definitely felt the effects at your show, because I just saw you guys recently. You were playing South by, and Kaylee Rose brought you guys up. She was shooting you, and so I got to come hang out and walk around and get all in your face with a camera and shit.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like, who's this dick? But yeah, no, I love. So you got the two girls that one plays like a Moog, right? Or no, like a what do you call it? A mini Moog, right?
And no, it's like called a Novation. So it's a mini Nova.
Novation, I should know that.
Novation Mini Nova. And then we actually do have a Moog sub fatty that we have for some shows. We didn't have it at the most recent show. We've kind of adapted a lot of stuff recently. So yeah, we've got them, guitar, myself who plays keyboards and does vocals, singing, rapping.
Right, you were playing I can't think of gear at all today. What's the keyboard you were playing?
I have a Nord.
A Nord, right?
Yeah,
Nord, yeah.
Nord Electro 5D. 5D stands for 5 dicks, because 5 dicks is better than the 4D. Yeah, the more dicks, the better.
Yeah, man. You need a... Yeah, I agree. Moving on. I'm just not on my game tonight. I'm all out of dicks. Fresh out of dick jokes. Fresh out of dicks.
I'm kind of at the crest of my caffeine jitters, so it's all down here from here. All down here. Okay, well, I'm enjoying it. Down here from hill, downhill from here. Yeah, there we go.
Hold it together, man. You're doing so good. Come on, hang in there. You've only gotten through 7/8 of your band members. So we've gotten... Now, tell us about the guitar player. We left off there.
No, I told you about our guitar player.
Oh, you did? He's the guy that records everything. Right, okay.
Yeah.
And he's a Scientologist,
goes to foreign planets.
Yeah, Space Proctor.
Foreign planets. One of those.
This is so... You guys are so futuristic. Like, I really see this as being like a reality, and I'm sad I'm not going to be alive to enjoy it. Like, flying around, getting alien porn and shit, which sounds amazing. Because frankly, human porn's just, it's all been done. It's not interesting anymore. There's nothing
straight
left.
up, I honestly, we're going to probably launch a Kickstarter or some sort of crowdfunding campaign for our next album, which is completed at this point, but we want to launch a pre-sale. And one of the tiers, really high-end tiers that I want to do is shooting tentacle porn starring myself.
Yes. That
would be delivered directly to the person who donates at that tier, but it's going to be like a $2 billion tier, so only the most loaded people can enjoy it.
I'm in Las Vegas. I got $100 bill, and I'm planning on turning that into $2 billion. So get ready to fly out here and make some tentacle porn in the Caesar's Palace.
You might be able to get Hunter Biden out there, man. I think he's into that. Some of his Ukraine buddies out here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So, drummer. Let's go to drummer.
Yeah. So then we've got our drummer. His name is Archibald Cufflink Jr. III. He is actually a descendant of the inventor of cufflinks. So he came to our commune, definitely not a cult, with kind of promises to enrich us through the family coffers. He's yet to deliver on that promise quite yet, but apparently he's loaded. He's got the keys to the cufflink fortune, and yeah, he slaps those skins real hard. And then we have Matilda Bilderberg is last but not least, our bass player who, we actually we bought this commune, definitely not a cult, this farm in Buda, Texas, and he was kind of included in the contract for the property, but he was a stable hand, just a young stable hand with a stutter. He was just like the scrawny little thing at first, but all that cow's milk just blew him up real big and got his bass tone round and fat. So we love our Matilda Bilderberg. Sometimes we slap some pigtails on him and make him.
It's a beautiful farmhand.
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people that they need to drink more dairy, man. The 80s ads were right. It does the body absurdly good and blows you up.
Yeah, I mean, my character would agree with you. I personally disagree with you, but I won't get into politics.
Vic will fight you over milk, just so you know. Hey, Vic, I'm just kidding, but hey, Vic, it was Travis Larson, wasn't it? The podcast where we were like, this dude, he loves milk, and he was talking about how he would drink Tor on milk and like donuts and shit. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was just like talking shit because he was like this big milk guy. I guess it was dairy milk. Because nowadays there's all these options, and I think for me, I'm like, I never really liked milk. Maybe I tried, or I thought I was supposed to drink it because of advertising and stuff. And then like everybody, I guess, back then. And I drank it, casually or casual. I'm a casual milk drinker. I don't have a problem or anything.
Yeah.
But then nowadays there's like almond milk and silk milk and soy and all these options. So
man, I lost
no
my
milk whatsoever.
In oat milk. I tell you, I was a big investor in oat milk, yeah. But I bought in high, and then it just crashed a couple months ago. So I'm trying to make back that oat milk money in the stock market.
I did that with every stock, and that's why I'm in Vegas with my last $100. Just trying to decide if I want to play poker or just get a whore and then kill myself. I don't know what's going to happen yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Poker or the spearmint rhino. So one of those.
You might poker or poker. Yeah. This is how poor I am. Like literally last night, I went to like Caesar's Palace, and I was like, I'd like to play a little poker, and they were like, "It's $100 minimum buy-in." I was like, "Oh!" And then I was like, and I literally Googled cheapest places to play poker in Las Vegas, and I walked like 4 miles down the road to some other casino,
and you ended up at the Golden Gate, right?
This is it was. You might be right, Vic. I don't know. What is that? It was something Gate. It had Gate in the title.
Probably Golden Gate, like old downtown.
I don't know. I mean, fortunately, I know some people. Tonight, I'm actually going to like a bar, and I'm going to go to some rock clubs, and I've done some cool things. Like last night was like only night on the strip, and I was like, this fucking blows. Like everything's insane. It was $15 to buy a Stromboli that I forced myself to eat because I hadn't eaten all day. I'm not even drinking water because it's $3 a pop at the hotel and the vending machine. And that's as cheap as it gets. Have you been to Vegas? Have you played Vegas?
I mean, I haven't played there. I was there when I was like 17, maybe 18. I couldn't really do anything. And just thought it was gross and shitty and, yeah, shitty.
Well, if you come back, it's exactly the same. You can't do anything unless you're rich, and it's gross and shit. One thing I don't like is, and I don't want to sound all Austin smug about it, but like, and I just came in from San Francisco, so my smug level is
double
like
smug,
high.
Man. Yeah,
I'm super smug right now. So now I'm in Vegas looking at all these people smoking cigarettes, like you, dirty, filthy, 19th filthy baby boomers, fucking cigarettes. So you guys are like clean. You only drink oat milk because do you force everyone in your commune, definitely not a cult, to buy oat milk since you're so highly invested in the company?
No. So what we do is actually we farm oats, and our stable hand Matilda goes out there and milks them by hand. So we do have a little bit of our own cachet or cash. How is it, cachet or cash? Yeah, CACHE. We have some of that of oat milk.
I know.
And but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. I'm just going to heavily imply that they should be doing that, or they're going to be fired from the band.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what a good leader does.
Yep.
Now, tell us about your music. how you got started. I mean, your Bourgeois Mystics is just, and the name like somehow is perfect for it because, and then you know, when you see you guys setting up and you see all, you know, the instrumentation, you're like, oh wow, yeah. I just kind of had a sense like this is going to be exciting. This is going to be eclectic. This is going to be, you know, interesting. And it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's musicians' music only. Like it's enjoyable to listen to, but like it's certainly for like music dorks like myself. Like we get giddy and, you know, because there's so much like cool stuff and you tip a hat to so many different genres and styles. What got you into that? What is your initial instruments did you play? How did you start into music, and where did your influences come from, and what are some of those influences?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of all over the board, and I think you kind of hit it on the head. That's, I think that's kind of the niche that we've set for ourselves or found for ourselves as being like your musician's favorite musician, which is an awesome thing. And sounds super conceited and is super conceited. But no, I mean, that is something that like a lot of the musicians who I respect in town and bands we've toured with have come to us and been like, yo, that's crazy that bar 15, 16 and it grooved real hard. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we try and do is like pull from popular styles of music. You know, hip hop is a huge influence for us, but then throw in a bunch of weird shit that people might not expect. And, we want to keep people dancing, but then every once in a while we want to throw in a bar that people aren't expecting that, throws them off their balance a little bit. So the band was founded by myself and our former bass player, Zach, who in the band went by Zenith Nader, and he and I were kind of the co-songwriting duo for a while, and he was a great, really excellent songwriter and a great dude in general. But his whole vibe was he was very eclectic and really good with arrangements, and I think a lot better at kind of the intellectual side of music. So with me, I kind of write from a place of more intuition, feeling stuff, finding a cool groove somewhere and then expanding on a composition from that groove. Zach was really a big picture guy. And if you listen to our first album, Eureka, he was really the brains behind that album. I would say like the central creative visionary. We all had a part in it for sure. But he was the one who really kind of took it by the reins. That
is quite an album and quite a feat, because with that much diversity and complexity in the music, I mean, that album's 16 tracks, right? There's a lot of music on there.
Yeah, but I think like 3 or 4 of those are kind of bugging out pieces, which is Prince Paul and De La Soul's way of saying an interlude track.
Right.
So we don't have like full, it's not 16 full tracks. It's maybe 10, 11, 12, I forget, tracks that are still pretty ambitious compositions. He actually did an arrangement of Gustav Holst's Neptune from the Planet Suite, which is the classical suite that John Williams was inspired for the soundtrack for. He kind of like ripped off the Planet Suite to compose the different various themes from Star Wars. But yeah, Zach did this really cool arrangement of Neptune on the album, which, he had actually, you probably know her, Aileen, who is your bandmate's partner and an Invisible Apes crew member, plays theremin on that track.
Okay.
But
yeah, I mean, speaking of instrumentation, there you go with another one, theremin, right? That's not something you see every day.
yeah, and that's not part of our normal setup. But for the album, like that particular album, we, employed a lot of different kind of weird, wild stuff on there. You know, we had a string quartet that we hired, and accordion and theremin, and we got real deep into the weeds with the production on that one.
And this is self-produced between you guys, the band, or was there any outside producers? And was this engineered? Was this the guitar player and his studio engineering this? Or
no,
somewhere
so
else?
We did produce it ourselves. It was Zach, Trevor, and myself who really were kind of the ones going back and forth on the production element. But we did. Oh, excuse me, got burp. We did have an outside mixing engineer for that one. Trevor was kind of just getting into mixing at that time. This was like 6 years ago that we were working on it now. The album came out almost 5 years ago now. But Trevor, in the meantime, has thrown himself completely into mixing and has become a really just like professional mixing engineer. He's done mixing for a lot of different bands in town and artists in town. And I feel like our new stuff, particularly from like a mixing and production level, is way more fire than the first album. Because we've been sitting on a new album for like 5 or 6 months now. We're just figuring out how we want to release that, but that is the album that has done completely in-house. Our first album was mixed by Matt Melly, who is the former engineer at Orb and super cool dude.
Okay. Yeah. One thing, Orb. That's the studio out there on Dripping Spring, right? Got SSL out there. Am I thinking of the right place? I thought so, right? What's the dude's name?
It's the dudes from Blue
Matt
October.
Novinsky, right? Yeah.
I don't know the owner personally, but
these songs, the Chicken song, Most Spiritual, like you've got a series of singles that have come out 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Is that stuff, are any of those going to be on the new album? Are you, like, I know a lot of bands nowadays, they'll put a single or two out and then they incorporate that into an album.
No.
That's separate, and then you've got a whole new batch of songs.
Yeah. So we've released several singles since Eureka. We've released Jaan Pehechan Ho, which is a cover of a Bollywood tune that we actually shot a music video for with this guy, Diego Lozano, who's the next Type Williams. This dude's totally creative visionary, excellently visual and incredible special effects and cinematography. He's just got an eye and a real unique style that I think translates really well to music videos. But we worked with him on the video for Jaan Pehechan Ho, which won the Keepin It Weird Award at Austin Music Video Fest in I think 2019, 2018, something like that. So we released that. We released Business is Bouge, which was kind of one of the last things we did with Zach before he left the band. We did the Chicken song, which is called Biomimicry, which that was our most recent single, and that was a fun one. I think there's one more single that I'm leaving out. The Most Spiritual. Oh, of course. How could I forget? Which kind of really zeroes in on our mythos of spiritual materialism. And it was funny, after we released the song, I was watching this documentary on Bikram, who's kind of branded a style of hot yoga that he brought to the United States. But the dude is a super creep, sexual predator, an absolute materialist D-bag. And he actually at one point in the documentary about him says, "I am the most spiritual person." And I was just like, all right, boom, right there. I wish we had that to sample on the single. But yeah, all of those singles were kind of standalone stuff. We have a few other singles. I think Business is Bouge we were originally going to release as an EP or as part of an EP called Turn On, Tune In, Sell Out. And we still have a few tracks off of that we may release at some point. But after Zach left the band, it kind of made more sense to, release stuff that we would actually be performing live. And he was so integral to kind of the vibe of those songs that we didn't really perform those as much.
So your current sets that you're playing now, are they kind of more, is it a lot of the newer material, or do you have a catalog that you can go through any of it, or is it kind of transition where you're playing more of the new stuff and just to handpick, some of the older things? Yeah.
So basically we just started playing together again after 2 years because the pandemic kind of, put the axe in all of our plans for a while. So we just started again, and basically we're doing maybe 2 or 3 songs off of Eureka that we still play. We have the singles that we release that we still do sometime. And then we're pretty much focused for at least, the sets in town where we're doing 45 minutes to an hour. It's all the stuff off the upcoming album that we haven't released yet. We haven't released anything off of there yet, but I'm really excited because, the other songs I've been playing for years and the new stuff, we kind of went in the studio and recorded them, but didn't have any chance to actually get them out live. So we're still in the process of seeing how they land with people. For me personally, I'm just having such a good time doing them on stage. They're a lot more hip hop focused than some of our previous stuff. So it's fun to get into that space and, wind myself while rapping faster than, is easy for me to do.
What are some of your hip hop influences from like a vocal standpoint or even a production standpoint?
Yeah. MF Doom was a huge influence for me. Lyrically, I think his brain worked somewhat similar to mine, where he's more concerned with wordplay and just making shit sound cool and making kind of like word collages rather than, focusing on storytelling, which, I would love to write like that. My brain doesn't work like that. The way my brain works is like, oh, here's a word, here's a sentence, here's an idea, here's another idea that kind of rhymes with it. And if I alter this part, it'll make it actually rhyme with it. So I'm just trying to make shit that sounds cool from a word play and like a audio perspective, but is less focused on the storytelling aspect. So he was a big one for me. I'm also a huge fan of Saul Williams, who I don't think has like a real direct influence. I imagine if you heard our music, you would not hear any of his footprint or imprint on what we do. But, his stuff hits on a lot of levels. He raps, and his stuff is like talking about hip hop, but also talking about nature and talking about God. And he'll be like, his lines will be talking about all 3 things and relating to all 3 things on a different level, which is, I don't know, that dude's just on another vibed out plane, and I can't really attempt to emulate what he would do. So yeah, those are 2 of the big ones for me. I come at it from a place of flow. I really like rappers who have great flow. And again, like, I don't always pick up on what someone's throwing down lyrically a lot of the time. Just like I don't write from a storytelling place a lot of the time. So if someone's got a rapid fire thing or anything like that, I'm into it.
Yeah, and that's such a fascinating art in and of itself. It'll give you respect. Even I think a lot of people like yourself I would certainly believe to not be one of these types. That, and I think nowadays everything's accessible to everybody, and kids don't even half the time know what they even listen to. They're just like, I don't know, this was in a soundtrack, or maybe they know a movie theme or a song, but they don't even know the artist. Like, our generations tended to grow up like having our favorite bands and musicians and buying physical items and all that kind of stuff was a big deal.
The
so I think
liner notes and
yeah. So I think it's kind of a different thing. Not that doesn't still exist, obviously, but certainly a much different world with the everything streaming and accessible and anyone doing it kind of thing. But one thing I think is that a lot of people are kind of willing and receptive to listen to all kinds of different music. It's very homogenized, right? Maybe not all in one place, like the Bourgeois Mystics may do, but it's odd to me sometimes. Or I mean, sometimes people have a certain, I think older people too, in general, are like, oh, I hate that style, or I don't like this, or I don't like that. But there's so much cool shit across all kinds of genres. I think it's just like what vibes with you. And like you said, like it could be, for someone, it might be the actual lyrics. For someone else, it might just be the stylings or the production. And so I always try to listen to music that way. And I got a lot of respect just from in the hip hop world, even though like I don't listen to a lot of modern hip hop or rap necessarily that much. I mean, of course, I grew up with all the same legendary shit we all did, but like I do have a lot of respect for someone that can just flow like that, like you're talking about, man. And I think sometimes it doesn't even have to make sense. It's just like the fact that you're streaming these words. It's a stream of consciousness, on the fly, and that's really cool to be able to do that. I'm equally impressed. There's like certain. Just great speakers, right? And motivators or comedians or funny enough, dude, I was watching last night. I shouldn't go off on a tangent like this is ridiculous. After wandering the streets and having no money and like being like, well, Las Vegas is not for me. Yeah. I came back and I watched a video on the life of a hippopotamus called King Hippo. And then I was flipping through the channels in the hotel and there's like nothing really on. So I came across, I couldn't think of the guy's name earlier, but it was Jimmy Swaggart. Remember that guy? Wasn't that his name? The preacher from back in the day?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not familiar.
And it was ridiculous. I mean, he was all like, demon alcohol, and this was a 1984 thing from a zillion people, and he was just like, and the Jesus hates alcohol, and whatever, dude, each their own.
Oh, it's a preacher.
It's a preacher. That's my point. It's like whether you go to a church and you got all. I get it. I mean, it's in a way it's entertainment, but there's an art to all of those things, whether you're a preacher or a poet or, a comedian or a rapper. And I think, to certain guys that can just spit those stuff out like that. And so I love that aspect of your music. I think that's really cool too, because to me, and I'm actually, one thing I would imagine that you get that when I think it's really cool when I know my influences and I know I have a big palette, but I also know when I'm writing a song, I'm like, yeah, this has got this vibe, or I'm thinking this is kind of Megadeth, and this is, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's like Faith No More thing or Melvin's. And then someone else is like, oh, that reminds me of Rob Zombie. And I'm like, oh, wow, that wasn't even what I was thinking at all. So that's kind of cool, right? Like, do you get that? You've got, the palette is so broad. Do you have people that go like, I hear this, I hear that, and is it all over the map? Or
oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, honestly, I didn't even really listen to Zappa or Mr. Bungle before we started the band. And anytime someone tells me that we sound like X, I go and listen to X. Right. So I got really into him after that. And I kind of knew I did have Hot Rats by Zappa that I listened to in college, but I never
have too. Yeah,
I never delved deep into the discography or anything. And someone recently said 311. I was like, really? Okay. I mean, those are fighting words, but I'll take it.
I mean, here's the thing, right? I'm not trying to knock this person at all, but that's probably coming from someone that doesn't have that hasn't maybe heard some of these other influences, right? So they're going like, oh, this reggae rock thing, and that's their reference point, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't really know much about 311. I remember them, but
well, I think some of the new stuff too probably would sound a little bit more like that than the more eclectic art rock album that is Eureka. So, I'm not going to fault anybody for hearing it. And like I said, I think most of, most comparisons that we would draw isn't something that I would necessarily set out to emulate. There are small moments in our songs that will consciously pull from another artist. We'll not necessarily sample it, but we'll give a nod a nod to something. So like on our first album, we have this song called War for the Status Quo. And we have a little DMX nod in there. It's like, you know, this kind of swing hip hop tune. But then, you know, we have a little transition and we got a little DMX shout. What's he say? He says, with a good livelihood at what? And
what? It always makes me think of Chappelle.
Yeah,
and isn't that the one where he's like, "I need my headphones"? Is that the same one, the DMX, or am I thinking of someone else?
I don't think they're quoting DMX on that, but yeah, I mean,
maybe that's Little John. But he did a DMX song. He used to do that. What? Yeah. He definitely did that one. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's like several places in our music. You know, I'd have to kind of like. One of the things I want to do for the new album is kind of listen through each track and be like, make a playlist for each song. Cause there's so many little moments like that where we are consciously nodding to other artists or other things. Lots of 90s hip hop, you know, Dre is a huge influence. We love Dr. Dre. And it's like, I don't think you can listen to our music and be like, oh, that sounds like Dr. Dre. But I think you'll hear our stuff and then you'll be like, oh, that was a shout out to Wu-Tang or, you know, whoever it may be. And I think, you know, specifically within hip hop, that's the biggest nod right there.
What about rock in the rock world? What were some of your influences?
Oh, butt rock, baby. We love that butt rock.
Yeah.
No.
All about butt rock. Poison.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite butt rocker, and how many cocks? I tried to tie it to our cock joke earlier and failed, but how many cocks are in your favorite butt rockers band?
How many cocks are in my mouth right now? No,
I was about to say, and would you suck them all? But then you went there. So
yeah.
Anyway, butt rock. You love butt rock. Well, that's going to be in the synopsis of the show.
Oh God, please no.
Today we interview a guy whose name we can't pronounce, and he loves butt rock.
Yeah.
And check out the podcast.
Shit. Yeah, I'm trying to think in terms of rock and roll. I know our guitarist definitely listened to a lot of Chili Peppers growing up, and that's another band that we've drawn comparison to that I think particularly their early stuff I can hear, you know, they're super funky. Honestly, I liked a lot of kind of weird fringe, like barely qualified as rock bands like Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
Okay.
Zoot Suit Ride. I loved swing and kind of world music. I loved Ozo Motley, who's definitely, you know, we have some of the Latin funk in some of our songs. So those were a couple that, you know, we definitely listened to and have had a little bit of a vibe check with. Yeah, I mean, I feel like our other bandmates would be a good people to ask that question. Oh, Primus. Yeah, I know Primus was.
They're the better guys to nerd out on like guitar stuff. Like,
yeah. But Primus, like our bass player, actually, we played a show in San Francisco with Gogol Bordello, and Les Claypool, I think, did a song with them and was hanging out backstage. And our bass player, you know, grew up on Primus, super Primus nerd, and I'd never seen that boy so deer in the headlights before. He like walked up to Les Claypool and fangirled so hard. It's like, oh, Mr. Claypool, I just want to let you know that, you know, you're the reason I play bass. And Les Claypool, of course,
I would put all of Primus cocks in my mouth.
Yeah, and Les Claypool was like, "Don't blame that on me, kid."
That's awesome.
That was a nice little moment, and you know, one of the great things of getting to be on some bigger bills and playing with some of your idols.
I actually want to come back to influences because I'm on your Bands in Town page, and I'm just going to like literally go down the list of like the different things you have listed, which is, you know, you would definitely incorporate them all. But like, so who are some acts that you've toured with, and where have you toured?
So we've done 2 national tours at this point. The first one was in support of our debut album, Eureka, and we went up to New England where I and Zach, our former bass player and founding member, are from. And we didn't have, we weren't touring in support of anybody, for that particular tour. But we played with some pretty amazing bands with that. My favorite, who I still follow, and I'm, tirelessly trying to get a collab going. We're doing a remix album for our next album to kind of like, as a special edition, we're going to release remixes from a bunch of our friends and bands and acts that we respect.
That's awesome.
There's this Philly band called Trap Rabbit, who's kind of on like the cutting edge of super in the pocket hip hop jazz.
Okay.
You may think of a lot of the West Coast cats like Yusef Dias as being kind of an embodiment of that style. But it's just a duo. It's this drummer and this keyboardist. And man, their shit is just so good. It's like super groovy in the pocket. He's the best drummer I've ever seen, this dude Arjun. And then the best keys player I've ever met, his name is Logan. So he's playing like these really colorful chords with his left hand and just going to outer space with the right hand. And that was my favorite band that I've played with ever, like big name or not.
Trap Rabbit, okay.
Trap Rabbit, yeah, like trap. Like you've fallen in a trap and now you can't get out of their super groovy styles. So that was a big one. We played in town. We played with Jaron Marshall, who we're a big fan of. He's the keys player for Black Pumas.
Oh wow!
And we were originally going to get him on the album, but we're talking to him now about getting on the remix album. But he's got some really great solo stuff. In terms of touring, our other tour was out to the West Coast, and we did something with Lagunitas Beer Company. So they were having this, they have this big
IPA company, Vic.
Yeah, IPA, India Pale Ale. But they're real cool.
Vic likes the dog IPAs. That's all I'm saying. Did you say Lagunitas?
Yeah.
It's great beer. I love that beer. Are you an IPA guy? Or do you just do it for the tour?
No, I mean, I love their beer. I'm not a huge beer drinker anymore. But
one drop makes you a sinner. One smell of alcohol makes you a sinner. I learned that last night from a 1984 Jimmy Swaggart speech. Anyway,
yeah, I'm sure.
That's pretty cool. So they sponsored the tour. Lagunitas sponsored, or
so basically they had a beer circus, and they had a bunch of different bands in each city. And then we were the house band for 3 of those dates. So we played in LA, Petaluma, which is like north of San Francisco, and Seattle. But we played with a bunch of great bands. We played with Lyrics Born, who's a rapper I've listened to forever. Gogol Bordello, like I said. Antibalas, who Martin Perna used to be an Austin cat, and he's their band leader. Super awesome Afro-Beat music. Golden Dawn Orchestra came and did a few shows. And, I hang out at Topaz's bar in town, Sahara Lounge.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So we had the Austin connection there. I feel like Lucius might have done one of them those years. So, yeah, those were some of the bigger names. I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but there were some bigger names on those festivals.
Do you have any particular venues, both in Austin or East Coast, West Coast, wherever, that are your favorite places to play, the best places you've played?
Yeah, I mean, Empire in town has been a really good one. They've just treated us really well. They've they're really into what we do. They've, you know, they're doing their best to like get us on with some really great touring acts and opening up for some bigger acts in town. So I gotta shout out Empire. They're definitely one of my favorites.
I saw you guys are actually, you have a show coming up there May 21st or 24th or something, right?
Yeah, May 21st.
21st? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's our next show. We're selling out. We're going to sell out. We're pretty close, I think, already. So,
are you indoor or outdoor?
We're indoor for that one.
Indoor?
Yeah, we're playing with these cats, CBDB, who I believe are an Alabama jam band. It's funny that jam band scene loves us, and like I don't think we're anything resembling a jam band.
Well, you're not jammy, really. Like maybe you have some moments, but I feel like you're much more structured. Like your songs are very structured, and you know, you're playing what's written, right? So
yeah,
I guess I get the connection in terms of like it's, I don't know, kind of, but not really.
Yeah,
it works, whatever. I guess.
I mean, I guess we have like powerful builds, and maybe that's the closest thing, and maybe some of the guitar tone and grooves kind of, you know, melt into that occasionally, but I think that's kind of the farthest thing from our repertoire, just because everything is so charted out and micromanaged, like my girlfriend likes to say.
Girlfriend? What's all this cock talk?
Oh, yeah.
she just knows we do it it's for the business. This is how I further my career, babe. 5 cocks. It's going to get me to the top.
It's funny. We had this really, really awesome gastronomic experience yesterday. I got to shout out Wild's vegan food truck in Austin. The dude, you know, sent out the word on Instagram, and he's like, hey, you know, first 5 people who respond, I'm going to cook my entire meal menu for you for free on Wednesday. So we responded. We got a couple spots. Wow. We showed up. And when he said his entire menu, like his fucking entire menu, I'm talking 18 courses, including every single beverage on the menu, which was each smoothie he had. The dude's awesome. He's a queer radical.
What's this place called?
It's called Wilds, WHYLDS.
Okay.
And the dude's great. Lots of personality, super charismatic. He was an executive chef for a while, knows what he's doing. The food's like pretty healthy for vegan food. It's not like crap. He doesn't fry anything or any of that. But he was a radical fairy, and he was talking about how he's divorced. He's single now. So after this incredible 18-course meal, I'm just like, I don't know how anybody can cook like that and be single. And so, you know, after the meal, I go up to him. It's like, so like, are you single by choice, or like, what's the deal? And my girlfriend comes out without missing a beat. And she's like, well, you're not single, so come on. So,
That's the power of a good chef right there, man. Yeah. Nothing else matters. See, yeah. I think food is like music, dude. It transcends everything. All of a sudden, if you're, you know, homophobic or racist, baby. That's what I'm saying. Homophobic, racist, that doesn't matter. Someone cooks you a good meal or gives you a good massage, you don't give a shit, man. You're like, you are, a black man, and let's have sex right now.
Yeah.
Nothing against either of those. You know, I love black men. Just I'm not gay. Yeah. But I would be if the food was good enough. That's all I'm saying. Right, Vic?
To each their own, man. To each their own.
Why do I say these things? I like Jello or Cello or I was joking, but I know it's not Jello. Cello. But how did I get you? Zalo, whatever they.
Would you say Jello?
No, I'm joking. I know he's not the guy from fucking Dead Kennedys or what. What's that guy Jello Belafonte? What is
Jello
he from?
Biafra?
That's Dead Kennedys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, look at me acting like I know punk rock or something.
Yeah.
But
look at me actually knowing the one punk rock reference I would actually get.
Yeah, Dead Kennedys are cool, man. I like what I've heard from the Dead Kennedys.
I'm a Bad Brains guy. That's like sets the bar for.
That's
punk
the old
music
school, right? Yeah. Are those New York dudes? I forget. They're East Coast, right?
They're DC. Washington, DC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, they've been around definitely 80s, but was it like they've been around forever, right? Like they were super early in the
80s,
US punk rock
maybe
right?
late 70s, but I'm pretty sure.
That's what
80s.
I'm thinking. Okay. Cool. Wow. Yeah.
But anyway, we were
That's
talking about dicks.
Yeah. God damn this. Why do we keep getting sidetracked by music?
I know. More dick questions, please.
Well, here's a question that is related in terms of putting things in your mouth. I always like to ask people about their favorite foods and like cuisine. Are you a vegan or?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you eat other than dick?
Yeah. Well, dick isn't technically vegan, but I eat a lot of different food. I love, Austin, it's easy to pig out on so much high-end shit. Like, I love sushi is probably like one of my favorite foods. I love Asian food in general.
Yeah.
Nissy Veg Mix. Sergio is the owner of that food truck, and he does like authentic Mexican family recipes that he's made all vegan, and that's really good. Through the pandemic, I really have not ate out that much until we moved back to Austin recently, and I do a lot of salads, a lot of stir fries. I probably eat more tofu than I should. But, we eat well, I'm a hoe for flavor. So as much as I spice as I cram shit in.
Yeah. Same, dude.
Yeah.
My fiance doesn't mess with that shit at all. And I'm always like, we got to have some, not that soy sauce is spice, but we were like ordering Thai. And I was just like, I will have like a freak out if I'm like, there's no soy sauce. Like, even though it's I have to have like extra poison to put on my food, like salty this and that. But I love hot sauce, like just in any kind of hot sauce, just about on anything.
Especially on your dicks.
That?
Yeah.
That goes without saying, Vic. Just like what I was saying about, human porn earlier, at a certain point, it's just, you're just going through the motions. You got to put some hot sauce on there and spice it up.
Yeah.
So look at this dude getting naked and shit too. Like we were talking about dick and like the shirt's coming off. By the way, like you're over there belching. Was this last night that you had the 18-course feast?
Yeah, it was yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
I haven't really had anything to eat today because I'm still full.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like you're over here belching and stuff. So I guess that's what's happening. It's like you're just still,
I've pooped like
belching out the vegan
20
feast from
times
yesterday.
Today. And, usually I only poop 17 or 18 times in a day. And today is a 20 poop day.
Meanwhile, I'm over here with the complete opposite. I'm over here in Las Vegas where I can afford only like nothing. and so like
crazy,
I've had like one poop. It's like, I can't even eat. It's too expensive.
No, you're doing it wrong, man. Because like so many of the casinos just comp your food and comp your drinks. So I don't know. Maybe you're not gambling enough.
I know. Well, because I'm not rich. Like I heard wrong. That's what I thought. Like you just go into a casino and people give you free drinks. This is not the case. They look at me and they're like, that's $17, sir.
Fake it till you make it. Like sit down at a slot machine, drop a quarter, like call over a waitress and get a drink, and then like real slowly pull that lever. Pull it real slow. Milk that shit. And then 15 minutes later, take a sip.
Okay. Well, here's what I've learned, though. Fortunately, I have friends here, and so I'm been off the beaten path a little bit and like finding the actual like cool spots.
Wait. Hold on. My computer's about to die. I got to grab a charger real quick. 1 second.
All right.
Cool.
Vic, I'll tell you this boring story about my life.
Keep talking.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So tonight, right? So this dude who Michelle's doing a documentary on Foxy, right? She's this dude guy Stoney Curtis, who I met out here, is awesome. And we went to his studio, and hopefully, I think he'll do the podcast at some point. Have you heard of a show called Counting Cars, Vic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the guy that dude owns the studio, and he plays in a band with this dude Stoney called Count 77. And their drummer's like apparently playing with Kiss now, or about to be playing with Kiss and shit. But anyway, their studio was badass. It was like a garage, right? This dude has this whole complex of like all these badass cars like a garage, and you see their logo, and there's a studio inside. It's like sweet. It's sweet, man. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so I'm gonna go see him play at a blues club tonight. It's not on the goddamn Strip. And then I'm just gonna buy like a bunch of fucking water at a grocery store or something, so I don't have to keep spending $3 just to live. All right, back to you, man. Vegan. Have you always been a vegan?
No. I've been vegetarian for like 11 and a half years, and vegan coming up on 10.
Now, so I thought, so is fish okay for vegan?
No.
Or do you just eat not sushi without fish? Like
yeah,
other
sushi without fish. Yeah.
Like fake crab, which is probably fake crab anyway. Like fake crab.
Actually, a lot of the fake crab has some weird animal product in it that I don't remember what they put in it, but most imitation crab isn't. But they have artisanal places. I've seen people like do sweet potatoes. Okay. Like the best meal I've ever had was in San Francisco, and it was a vegan sushi place, and they just had a bunch of imitation shit. And, say what you will about boomers, but they really died for our sins. Like, they had to suffer through decades of terrible vegan food so that we millennials can just pig out on food that, you really can't tell the difference. It's all about flavor and texture. And
seriously, dude,
you can
honestly
get the flavor of any of that stuff, and the texture is like just as identical for some of the shit.
I want Vic to chime in on this here in a minute, but I personally have had vegan burgers. Like, my fiance's not like vegetarian or vegan, but she doesn't eat a lot of meat, and so a lot of we'll have vegan burgers or the Impossible Burger, whatever. And I've had like some vegan chili. Original drummer in my band, A Good Rogering, was vegan, or is vegan. Him and his wife. God damn, it's some of the best chili I've ever had in my life, man. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I know there's just like all kinds of killer vegan food. I think when you're not super conscious about it, though, you're just kind of like, oh, well, like whatever, But if you are, like, there are options now. Vic, have you eaten vegan food?
Yes.
And what is your experience?
I liked it. I mean, I've had the Impossible Burger from Hop Dotties, right? So that's excellent. And then there's this other place in San Antonio, I think it's called Earth Burger, which they had some really, really good stuff. So I've had a little bit. I haven't had it a whole lot, but what I've had has been really good.
Yeah, you're so right, man. That once upon a time it was probably. I mean, even now, if I'm like eating veggie Thai or something, like the tofu's fine, I don't mind it at all. Like I feel like I just get chicken on everything because that's what I'm used to, and I like chicken. Mm-hmm. I could just come to your commune, definitely not a cult, and just start jacking your fucking robotic typer chickens or whatever. I'm gonna get free chicken out there, man.
And oats.
Well, we don't eat our chickens. We just
clearly
foolishly employ them to do manual labor until they're tired out and exhaust themselves and die an early, cruel death from exhaustion.
As it should be. So it's good to know that as a vegan, you're still treating animals cruelly.
Yeah.
And
doing
your job as a human being.
Well, again, I'm a multidimensional space kraken in the band, so that's sorry to insult. I am so sorry I insulted you with this dirty shit right there.
Yeah. This filthy species that Vic and I happen to have the unfortune of being human being. Jesus Christ! Someone else say something. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna cut that. Go ahead. I keep thinking this, Vic. What we need to do on these podcasts is like have points. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity because guy whose name I can never pronounce. And I told you at the beginning of this, I can't remember people's names. It doesn't matter, so don't feel insulted. It's not just you. It's literally everybody until I've met you, talked to you like 500 times.
For sure.
But like, you've had to like get up. I think it's just because you're horribly uncomfortable because you ate an 18-course vegan meal. You're taking your shirt off. You're sweating. You need Prilosec. Like you just left it. And I'm thinking like, Vic, like we should do a thing like where we get to a certain point in the podcast, be like, okay, and break. And then we can like cut and put in a little commercial. Like in this episode, it'd probably be for Prilosec or Dick. But like, something that's relevant to the actual episode, and then we could be like, and we're back. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, as long as we get paid for the commercial, right? I don't know how much Dick pays, but I mean, Prilosec, that'd probably be a good check.
You know who fucking reps Prilosec? What's his name? Larry the Cable Guy. I don't think that's our demographic. I don't think Larry the Cable Guy's audience is like Bourgeois Mystics.
You never know. Never know.
You never know. People are eclectic. You never know. Look at me being judgmental.
Ron White lives on Rainy Street, and he actually wandered into a Bourgeois Mystics show one day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he lived there.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'll be damned.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I bet
I'm
he's
also
rocking some
hot because
Prilosec.
I live in a bus, and I don't know if both our fans are going right now, but either way, it's getting kind of stuffy in here, and it's going to be super loud if I put the AC on. So,
I thought I was suffering. I was over here like, this damn hotel AC is so loud, and I put it to like 75, and I was like, I'll take one for the team. Meanwhile, you're over there literally sweating to death in Texas.
yeah.
What's the temperature like there, by the way? Because you never know from one day to another.
I'm not going to talk about weather on the podcast. I drive a line at weather. Yeah, I'm down to talk about veganism, dicks, music, not talking about the weather, not digressing there.
I respect you, sir. That's I see it. I see it, man. I see how you are evolved beyond this mere species of Vic and I who have to make small talk with stupid shit like that weather, huh? Yeah, it's still hot, fuckett.
And Prilosec.
Anyway,
so
I'm an angry Texan.
Speaking of Vic, I'm curious if you have any questions, because you've been sitting here kind of adding color here and there, but I feel like we've sucked a lot of the air out of the room, and want to get your take. Have you even listened to our music? Do you hate us? Are you doing this just for Skunk?
I am doing this just for Skunk because
for my dick.
Yeah. I add color. I mean, that's what I do. I'm the brown guy, right, in the podcast. So I'll add some color commentary. Usually, I do get a chance to listen to some music before we jump on. I just haven't had a chance for tonight to do it.
I will say, man, Bourgeois Mystics is fucking sick, dude. Seriously, I'm a huge fan. Like, your music is amazing.
Yeah, I was looking through the website and the Instagram page, and I've been itching to click on this Spotify button and YouTube button to listen to it because it sounds really cool. What are your? Go for it.
Sorry, but go. No, please. I gotta shut up.
No, I lost my train of thought now. Go for it. And cut. No.
Yeah. I'm sorry. My brain just never stopped. And just like, because I was going to say, now I lost my train of thought. So let's just have a really awkward pod. Two hosts that can't think of questions and a guest sitting there with a shirt unbuttoned. Yeah. It's just, this is why we started this podcast, Vic.
That's right.
It's been moments like this.
Moments like this where we can't think of anything.
Las Vegas Strip? Is that what's going on? All right. I'll Las Vegas Strip.
This is the cheapest fun I've had all weekend, or whatever week.
I bet you're missing your microphone now, that big black one, right?
Yeah, man, my big. Where is my big? I think it's in the safe. Like, so normally I do. I have a big black microphone right in my face, and Vic called me out on it. There's definitely a subliminal thing happening there, but yeah, I told you earlier, man. I was like, I hope the Wi-Fi is a little spotty here. Hopefully, we'll get through this and. So far, so good, I guess. I mean, I think I'm just so distracted by your demeanor and nakedness right now that I've gone. This is the first time I've ever just been at a loss of words.
I mean, I can just
on the podcast.
shut my camera off. That would be easier.
Totally naked, go black. I had a question ready to go, but I was rudely interrupting Vic with it. I know what I was going to ask. What are your hobbies outside of music? What do you do outside of what you do?
Yeah, well, I got 3 dogs and 2 cats, so spend a lot of time cuddling them and going for walks and giving them pets. And
you a nature guy?
I do like nature a lot. I unfortunately am allergic to Texas, so I haven't been doing as much stuff. But
I hear that, man.
Texans are allergic to Texas.
My girlfriend and I recently built a 23-foot shuttle bus, converted it into our home. So I'd say that's not a hobby by choice because I was not in love with the process. But at the end of the day, we got a pretty dope, cheap place to live that, is our house anywhere that we want it to be and, on the continent. So
that's fucking amazing. And that's, was that kind of a COVID thing since since you had time on your hands and they were touring and playing was an option? Was that something that's happened in the last couple of years?
I mean, it's something we had talked about for a while, something my girlfriend in particular was really, really pushing for. And, when COVID happened, we'd saved up some money for a couple of years. So we finally had the money to make it happen and the time to make it happen. And we finally pulled the trigger. She was really the mover and shaker on it. She's the one who figured out how to do everything. I was just there slowing down the process and getting frustrated at everything. But
I think we've gathered that from this podcast. She's shouting out your song titles, telling you to get away from quit trying to suck the chef's dick. Like, she runs the show. We get it.
Yeah, she's a manager.
Sounds like you got a good woman. Taking care of you.
Yeah.
Taking care of her man. Keeping him in line. So are you a book guy? Are you a Netflix guy? Are you a I hate TV guy?
I'm super into Magic the Gathering, actually. I like, that's probably my biggest hobby. I was even thinking about trying to play professionally for a little bit. But, I love Magic the Gathering. Super big geek. The lore of it's cool, but the gameplay aspect of it just keeps the math part of my brain occupied. So yeah, that's like my biggest hobby. I do also enjoy Netflix and HBO. HBO's got the best stuff, in my opinion.
Like what?
I think one of our favorite shows as of recent is Raised by Wolves.
I've heard of that. I haven't seen it, though.
Yeah, it's a crazy sci-fi show about a pair of androids who are programmed with paternal instincts and tasked with re-raising humanity after they've killed themselves off in a holy war.
Sounds accurate. Yeah, that's cool.
But it's really, really awesome. Great action, some pretty deep psychological stuff. The performance from the actors who play the androids are incredible. Like the mother android is just like terrifying and then nurturing, and she just switches on a dime. It's one of my favorite performances in a while. So I love that. Succession is another one of my favorite shows of all time.
Heard of these, haven't seen them, or I'd be geeking out with you.
Yeah, Curb Your Enthusiasm is one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, I could go on and on.
Peacemaker was really fun.
Yeah, I never watched that one. I'm less into superhero stuff, but my girlfriend likes a lot of more action-focused things, so I'm gonna give it a shot at something. Or at some point.
It's got a good soundtrack, actually. It's like
The Boys.
What'd you say?
You love The Boys.
Oh.
And that works on multiple levels.
I see. I get it now. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Boys was really good, but that's kind of like a more meta take on the whole superhero genre, which, I think that's kind of my problem with superhero stuff in general, is that it kind of falls into just savior bullshit a lot of the time, and they're not really getting at anything deeper or more entertaining than that. But I know Peacemaker is kind of like an anti-hero, and I definitely love the anti-hero. Better Call Saul is probably one of my, if not the favorite show of all time. Certainly top three. That
came up the other night with the guy I just met. We started talking about Breaking Bad, And then he started talking about Better Call Saul. And I was like, would you agree it's kind of slow, like the first season? It's slow getting there, right? You get all the backstory and this and that. And I feel like I started watching the first season, maybe I got into season 2, and then I kind of got away from it. And I realized, like, oh, wow, there's like 5 seasons of this now. And everyone's like, dude, this is the shit, because they're, bringing it's basically tying into Breaking Bad, and all these characters are coming into it. And you're kind of getting the origins of all that stuff. Is that kind of what's going on?
Yeah, but I mean, my girlfriend hasn't seen Breaking Bad, nor my mom, who I got her hooked on the show too. So I don't think you need to watch Breaking Bad to appreciate it. I think the storytelling aspects of it and the writing is just unparalleled. And, watching kind of this couple and one person who really has a very loose moral compass, and watching him kind of negatively affect people who really do have more of a sense of right and wrong, and bring them down with him. If you look at Greek mythology and what a hero isn't someone who's, doing all these things for the good of society. A hero's journey is usually tragic.
Right.
And usually, it ends with them basically having to sacrifice something, or going through these crazy trials and tribulations, and then learning, a very morally sound lesson at the end of the day.
Right.
So I think, he is a hero in the classic term of the sense, and I guess what we'd modernly identify as an anti-hero. But I just think his journey is really good, and the characters are excellent. The writing is just unparalleled. It's funny, it's amusing, it's larger than life, but it totally fits within,
right.
It doesn't ever feel fake. It feels like, oh, these are all very real and rooted characters. Even though,
superhero.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, back to the superhero thing. I think I agree with you 100%, and I like that kind of, in general, like that kind of story, or those kind of characters, or those kind of movies or shows or whatever. Like that, of course, a lot of, you're going to have, it's a show, right? It's entertainment. But I mean, when you can go like, wow, that could be real life. Like, the truth is stranger than fiction so many times. And there are crazy scenarios and people in this world, and all kinds of fucked up crazy shit. So I think it's interesting. I like watching things that develop and that I actually do have a somewhat realistic storyline, even if it is, like you said, larger than life and a bit absurd. Whereas for me personally, like, the superhero thing is so, like, over the top. I'm just like, I don't really need to watch a guy fly around and whatever. I mean, I get that it's like,
and that's what I liked about
whatever. Let me just shit on the most popular thing in our country right now. Superhero movies suck. You heard
that's
it here.
What I liked about The Boys is it's, indicting our society and indicting, talking shit about the corporate structure, that even for, it's presenting a world that in order for these superhumans who have all these supernatural powers and can, technically do anything they want, they're still beholden to the corporations, and they're still beholden to just people who are corporatizing their identities, which is, it's just a hilarious concept. And, if there were superheroes that actually existed, I think probably a more as realistic as you would get in terms of a structure for that.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy, actually. We've covered cuisine. We've covered Netflix. I think we got most of our topics.
I kind of want to ask you more.
Zaalo.
I want you to ask me more questions about music, because that's what I do. I feel like.
Well, I was about to kind of go there, but I was. You know where I'm going, Vic?
Oh yeah.
So I was about to say, I don't know if you would want to answer this question. We don't make guests answer this question, like, because especially in a professional way. Like a lot of people don't want to talk shit, right? And I get that. And we kind of do it in jest and fun. And everyone has think maybe our bands that they're just like, ugh, I fucking can't stand this. And you could argue that it is subjective. But Nick and I came up with this idea of like, what is your three Bermuda Triangle bands? Like bands that you're just like, I can't stand this contrived dog shit. I just wish they'd go play on a boat that never came back. Like, do you have anything like that? And if you do and don't want to talk about it, that's okay too. And if you want to say a good Rogering, that's also totally acceptable.
Because it'd be a paid gig for you, right? Like steady pay, food.
Hey, I'll get on that boat any day if I get some fucking pay out of it. Shit.
I can't even say a good Rogering because I've never heard the band. So I guess that's more of a
You're lucky. You're lucky.
Thing. I don't like it. Is I haven't even bothered to listen to it.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Okay. I'll go.
Wait, a good Rogering. I'm gonna write that down so I can make sure never to listen to it.
Yes, please. Don't do that to yourself.
Cool. I've got it in my notes. I mean, the thing is if there's a band I don't like, I just don't fucking listen to them. So it's hard for me to say. I mean, obviously Nickelback fucking suck. But
that's the cliche answer. A Nickelback song came on the other day, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I looked, and I almost felt shame. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I caught myself like enjoying Nickelback for a second
because it was like grooving to it.
Well produced. Yeah, and I came out, and I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's awesome," and I'm like, "Yeah," but that's like the thing.
You
like
just
everyone
admitted that you like
it's kind of funny, right? Like our society. Yes,
you Skunk Manhattan just admitted that you like Nickelback on a podcast.
You know who's never going to talk to me again, Vic? Blaine. Blaine's never going to talk to me again. I got a buddy who is there's so many great Nickelback memes. Like whether you like Nickelback or not, you got to get on board with it because it's so funny the way they just become the poster child for this is shit. You know what I mean? And what I feel like with Nickelback is what I feel like with probably a lot of bands that God knows I don't know what that's like, but they got huge success. They got, speaking of the whole corporation game, when we were talking about superheroes, I was like, oh, kind of like pop stars, right? Like you get to a certain place, like how much of things are yours anymore? And I'm not saying that's not for every pop star. Some people run their own show, I'm sure, but I think Nickelback, I just have a hard time believing like some of the songs they've written. I don't really know Nickelback's catalog, but there is some song I think it's called Rockstar, and it's so hokey, and it's what I think a lot of things. Yeah, they try to appeal to all the different demographics and a little hip hop, a little country, but not in a Bourgeois Mystics way. That's like we're doing all this like meshing all this shit because we love music and this is awesome, but because it's like we got to sell. Like I always make the guys in lab coats in Nashville joke about they got their exact BPM and the hook has to come in here and the fucking key change has to happen here. This formulaic type stuff. And I think Nickelback seems like that's just a poster child for that. It's going to be catchy. It's going to be hooky. It's going to be well produced, but like it's very watered down. And I wonder at some point in time, I've never really listened to Nickelback except for the other day when I became a huge fan, obviously. And I'm just wondering if once upon a time, all I know about Nickelback is everybody hates them except for me. And they were in a Spider-Man movie at one point in time. That's all I fucking know. And they made that shit song Rockstar. But like, maybe they were good. They're probably really good. They're probably good players, but they just have like crap because like big producers are like, no, we have to sell 1 million records to people that don't listen to stuff that, doesn't follow this formula. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I like to be smug. Like I said, Vegas or Austin and San Francisco, and Vegas all in like a week. So I'm fucking smug as shit right now.
Yeah.
And I love Nickelback. Skunk Manhattan.
I mean, I guess there's not really many artists I could name. I will say that pop punk and Christian rock are the devil's music. That's as bad. That's the lowest of the low in terms of musical integrity, in my opinion.
Man, you made my day. I will say one thing, and this is what I do. I interrupt our guests constantly. But back to I may not even have this guy's name right. Jimmy Swaggart, I think. Whatever. I don't know why I'm only talking about this because for some dumb reason I watched this shit last night, and what was funny was I was entertained as watching him as an actor, so to speak, right? And I see all these people crying and getting moved, and that's fine. Like I'm not anti, if you're religious or spiritual, I'm not against that at all. But I'm not also like, I have a hard time with these evangelicals and what's his name? Joel Osteen's the new big one and these kind of guys, right? Like, are you really that great? Blah, blah, blah. Side tangent. So back to the swagger, dude. What was interesting about that was after that, I just left it on and I went to sleep and I was just like listening to the music, which was like more kind of a hybrid of like, because I agree, like some of the like contemporary Christian, or I don't know the genres of music, but they're pretty fucking cheeseball. It's a 1, 4, 5 Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Like really, like you can't be a little more. And you're right. The same thing with pop punk. It's like, dude, I'm going to go off on a tangent now. Like you didn't have to say it. I'll say it because you said the genres. Like Green Day. I don't know. That dude's not English. Like that's all I have to say.
They're the best of like.
I don't like the way that he sings in English.
That's the high bar. That's
as good as it gets. That's the problem. That's the bar. Like that's not a good bar. Like so I don't know. Honestly, Green Day's not terrible. I just how there's just certain people you just don't like for no reason. Like I'm sure like a lot of people look at my face and don't like me, but that's like me with Green Day. I'm like, you're not English and I don't like you. Sorry. Anyway, but like back to the Christian thing, I was just like laying there listening to the music and I was like, what I was digging about it was I was like listening to the bass line. It was really simple. So I was like just using it for ear training. And I was like, oh, there's the 4 chord. There's because I'm a nerd, and I was like, oh, there's the 2, there's the 5.
Is that
so it's simple enough that someone like me could be like, I can figure out the chord progression. That made me feel good. So I actually had a spiritual moment. It was godlike to see.
And then it rolled into Nickelback, right?
Fuck yeah. No, dude, I would up to Nickelback, dude. I do my sit-ups every morning to Nickelback. I get super pumped.
You do now, right?
Yeah, I do now. We've hijacked this with this podcast, but shit. Let's get back to dude, that was your answer was a 10 out of just perfect answer. I mean, because I agree. Like, what about bro country? You don't strike me as like a guy who loves to like jam out the Florida Georgia line.
The third thing in the triangle, bro country.
Right. The demon triangle.
Yeah. But I mean, that's probably the stuff I've heard the least of, so I couldn't really say.
Right.
But yeah, not my vibe.
Yeah, no, you had probably one of the best answers we've ever had in terms, because you just like you didn't specify bands with like these genres, and we agree, right, Vic?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, the commentary was so colorful.
Yeah, ask a goddamn question. I'm having a hard time tonight. I'm too busy sitting over here trying to go lose my last $100 in Vegas.
Yeah. So let's see. You covered music, influences, gear. Usually go over gear.
Completely out of left field. That's super fucking weird, and I'll answer it.
You know what question he wants right now. The dude's sitting there naked. We talk about dicks for like.
I mean, don't make it
an hour and a half.
He wants weird. I guess I'll answer it if that's what you really want to know. But ask me anything. Just like.
I was just going to ask how many dicks
in my life.
That's all. Well, no, like you're not of this planet. So are you a multi-dick being? Is what I'm trying to ask.
I thought you were saying how many dicks I had, not how many dicks I have.
I would never expect someone to keep count of the amount of dicks they. Do people do that? Do they have notebooks of their dick count? I run 100. I was like,
I mean, black books are a thing. I'm sure most people keep track of their dicks. But yeah, I've got a bunch of tentacles, mad tentacles. A bunch of those tentacles double up as dickies, dickle pickles.
And here, on the topic of dick, and this is dead serious because Vic's a huge porn fan. Who's your favorite porn star? Don't act like you don't have one or you don't know. I hate people that are like, I don't know.
No, I watch it. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know if I have a favorite. I kind of just like scroll through the daily greats and see what's going, or if I'm like craving a
favorite porn site, favorite style, type of porn.
I mean, honestly, tentacle
I would think, right?
Fucking cool. That shit is.
Honestly, I kind of want to Google that. Like, I don't actually.
No, it's
I'm
great.
terrified of what I might find, but I bet it's a thing. Like anything else, I bet it exists.
nasty shit like that. So it's actually like, even when I'm not in the mood for that sexually, I just think in terms of like the what do you call it? Like the visual aspect, the aesthetic is pleasing to me, even when it's like not sexually what I'm in the mood for. Yeah. Comforting.
I'd also think just the sounds, just even thinking about it, I'm kind of getting a whole, aesthetic.
Yeah.
Sounds,
it's pretty cool stuff. And a lot of it's,
who's your favorite?
Animated. So there's no exploitation, which is kind of a good thing.
What an interesting thing you just said, because that's so true, and I hadn't really thought about this, but that's very interesting, actually. It's such a thing in the future, and I see these ads, my friends do, and they tell me about them, that, you'll see it like porn sites and stuff where it's like animated porn. It's like, you'll get off in 3 seconds, and it's just like, like really good, or like movies nowadays, superhero movies almost look like fucking video games, and now they do the same thing with porn. And so I don't know if this is the thing of the future, but actually, on a serious note, there is a silver lining to that in a sense, because you're absolutely right. One would hope and assume that the exploitation aspect of that would not be present. I mean, who knows? But it's interesting,
I would say my favorite porn site is Fuck for Forest, particularly for that reason. It's basically a nonprofit, and it's all user-generated, so user-uploaded videos, often taking in place in nature, but all of the proceeds from the videos are donated to environmental nonprofits. So it's cool. You can have your wank and know that you're doing a good thing.
That's great. Yeah, that's good to know. Fuck for forest. That's the thing.
You're planting more. You're planting more than one kind of seed.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now I can jack off and not feel bad about
there you go.
Finally.
User uploaded. I keep thinking about that South Park episode where he goes, the internet went out, right? So they all move out west.
And it's one of the best fucking episodes
ever. It's got
ever.
the guy scribbling, right? Making pictures in a box and just handing out a piece of paper.
Are you a Trey Parker, Matt Stone fan?
I'm not like all
South Park and all that.
I've watched South Park in the past, and I saw Book of Mormon live. I wasn't that into that. That definitely had some funny stuff, but South Park has definitely got some funny stuff. I think Curb Your Enthusiasm and maybe what's his name, Sacha Baron Cohen, are as edgy as I like my comedy. I think South Park.
Would you say South Park is more edgy, or what? They're too edgy.
I don't think they're too edgy. It's just like grating after a while for me personally. I prefer stuff like Curb Your Enthusiasm's really funny because it's super observational. I'm Jewish, so there's like a lot of Jewish humor and like the Jewish neuroses I relate to super hard. But also just, the day-to-day stuff that slips in there and arguing about mundane stuff. It's so funny.
Really, it's I mean, it's Larry David, right? Seinfeld, but just without the script. And it's just his life and all the absurdity. It's real. It kind of comes back to that, what we were saying about characters and stuff. It's just real, right? It's relatable in a sense, don't you think? And it's ridiculous, but it's also relatable. And it's like, it's ridiculous in an authentic way.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Perhaps?
I mean, it's over the top sometimes, but a lot of that stuff is just based on kind of situations that are completely relatable, and then are getting blown out of proportion because Larry has a bone to pick, and he's not afraid to address social faux pas, and you see him kind of on both sides of that.
Yeah.
So I love Curb Your Enthusiasm for that reason, and Sacha Baron Cohen is definitely edgy in terms of straddling the line of kind of taboo politics like gender and race, but he's doing it in a way that is kind of revealing people's biases rather than making fun of it, which I think that's the line for me in terms of what I personally appreciate, or can withstand in large doses. Like, South Park, I think is really cool. I think that they are definitely doing a lot of the same thing, but I think sometimes in terms of the way the jokes are delivered, it feels a little bit more aggressive and grating and punching down, as opposed to something like Ali G, where he's literally getting people to make fucking fools out of themselves because they're saying dumbass shit.
Well, yeah. Like, I loved, do you like Zach Galifianakis? I like his dry, Between Two Ferns that I mean, Ali G, I always loved him, but Zach Galifianakis is the same way. Those interviews
really
are fucking
good.
hysterical. Have you ever seen the Galifianakis comedy special that he did years back? And he's just he's doing his piano thing. He's talking about, and he just starts walking. He's just winging it. And he just starts railing on this old guy in the crowd. Like, this is the TV special. This is going to be on DVD. And you're in the front row. You're ruining my career. And all this, he's just going off on where his career, it's just hilarious, man. But, I feel like I get with what is it? Ali G?
Yeah, Ali G, Borat,
Ali G.
Bruno. Those were...
Well, no, I know Ali G is how I discovered him, and I love that show. And then Borat was landmark and amazing. And then I saw, and I would say, I mean, that's about as edgy as you get, right? I mean, he was getting sued, and I can't believe the South Park guys have any money. They must be sued every fucking episode multiple times. But Borat was a big thing, and then he did that movie.
Bruno was another character,
character guy.
But honestly, some of his.
Oh, that was a terrible date.
Yeah, it was
movie.
just not a very good movie.
Let's go look at a guy's dick for 2 hours. No, it's terrible. If you like Dick, it's fucking great. I'll say that.
Yeah, that one wasn't particularly funny. Bruno as a character is pretty great. Like on the Ali G show, he had some really great skits with Bruno, where he's interviewing neo-Nazis and people who think Jew world order is a thing, and getting them to say stupid shit. But then the thing that I really appreciated was Sacha Baron Cohen's most recent thing, which is called, I think it's We Are America, or This Is America.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh man, you gotta watch that. It's so funny. No, it's a
movie.
It's a show.
Movie or what?
He interviews a bunch of politicians, and he's got a bunch of new characters. But he has this one character who's an ex-Mossad agent who's comes to America to teach a bunch of conservative Republicans self-defense, and he just gets them to say the most ridiculous shit, like saying that 5-year-olds should have guns, and they launch a campaign for Puppy Pistol, which is bring your stuffed animal and make sure this is how you shoot your Glock from inside the stuffed animal. It's just pointing out the absurdity of a lot of their policy positions. I'm not anti-gun, but I think the fact that people don't want to address any of the gun violence in this country is definitely problematic.
Yeah, I think that's I feel like I meet a lot of people that are like that are not, I don't think most people want to ban weapons. And I think most people would also agree, yes, please let's have background checks. And there's really no logical reason that an average citizen should run around with assault rifles. However, there are collectors. My dad was, a history professor and a collector and collected various weapons, nothing too crazy, but so that's fine. But it's it's definitely a tricky thing, but I think the problem with everything is you always get the extremists on both ends of the spectrum that just ruin it for everybody else that are kind of in the middle, all more or less agreeing with each other, right? I mean, we might have a little bit of a difference of opinion, but I think we fall relatively in the same spot. And I think there's two problems with that. It's obviously the guns get in the wrong hands time and time again. And I think that the hands that they often end up in are mentally ill people. And I would argue that is a pandemic in of itself, right? It's just mental illness. How do we deal with that? That seems to be, not that people aren't addressing this issue, but I feel like that's what's really behind all of this shit, is just that there's a lot of fucking sick people. And I mean, I don't want to go off on tangents here now, but a lot of times it's just like,
you totally are.
Well, yeah, but you hear about someone getting a gun and committing an act of violence, and then you go like, why was this person not locked up or in a facility at least where you couldn't get access to a gun? If it's like there's a history of this and that and that. I mean, I'm not trying to say like go lock up everyone. I think all these bogus drug charges and all that is nonsense, of course, right? And legalize it and all that kind of shit, right? But when you come to violence and weapons, like you've got to like take that shit seriously. And you hear it time and time again about the warning signs and this and that, and then you got a gun at fucking Walmart or whatever the case may be, right? So
we have to get a license for so many bullshit things in this country that, and you don't need a license for a gun just because it's written into a piece of paper, from 300 years ago, an imperfect form of government. It's like you got to kind of get with the times a bit, and I think as a baseline, just, do background checks, thorough background checks, making sure that you're not giving a gun to people who, are at risk or might flag the system for doing that stuff.
Or at the very least, and I feel kind of silly for even asking this, but do you have to legally buy a gun, do you have to have any kind of certification of any kind? Dick, do you? I mean, I'm assuming maybe you know the answer to this.
State by state, okay. Yeah.
Because that is fucked up. I actually went and did a course that I had fired. I fired a gun many years ago with my dad. I've never really like been a hunter or anything like that. I'm not anti-gun. I don't personally hunt, and I don't have a bunch of guns. But I was like, you know what, I want to go do this, and it was interesting. It was like really cool to like just sit there and like, okay, like really think about this as a weapon and how to treat it that way and how to handle it. And this is not like fucking Hollywood, man. Like this is a real thing that can kill you, even in Hollywood. And it's just like, it needs to be treated with that utmost respect. And so the fact that, like you said, you have to be not like a baby can go buy a gun, but you have to have a license for all this bullshit. And yet you could just, I guess in certain states or whatever, case by case, someone could just go buy a deadly weapon without any sort of certification or background check is absolutely ludicrous. Vic, maybe you know more about this. Well, I'm curious to get your input on this subject.
They always do a background check.
Well, I would think so. I would hope so,
yeah.
But I mean, but are you able so they do it back. So if I wanted to go buy a gun, I couldn't buy it right there. Like they have to say, okay, you can come back in 3 weeks or whatever, or how does that work?
Well, it depends on the state, right? So some states require you to have some form of residency within the state. Some states require a holding period, like, you go through the process, you got to wait. There's a waiting period. I think Washington State's like, 10 days or something like that. Texas, if you pass the background check, then you get it then and there. So it just depends on state by state. New York, you can't buy anything or something along those lines. Just really depends state by state. But they run the same federal background check on everybody when you go through that process.
There's a mandatory check. It just varies as to how the waiting period or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, Zaalo. Shit, I just thought. Oh, I was going to ask, man, are you originally from Austin? Where are you from originally?
From Boston.
Oh, wow. I don't even really catch any kind of accent at all. When did you move down south and why?
10 years ago. After college, I traveled around for a bit and then discovered Austin. And yeah, it was just totally my vibe. Like, really good dance community, great music scene, really pretty nature. Everybody was really friendly and engaging, and just like a lot of common ground. Boston is really kind of focused around sports and being a racist, and I'm not that into sports, and I'm definitely not into racism.
That's amazing.
So I decided getting out of there was kind of a good thing to me.
Did you go to school there? You said you went to college. Was that in Massachusetts or?
Sorry, bro. I'm so hungry. I'm eating chips on the podcast. really loud, like the loudest thing I could eat.
No. I ate green beans on somebody's podcast covered in soy sauce, so chips are totally. In fact, I got some pop. I would be eating some popcorn that I have on the side, but I don't have any beverages, and I don't want to get my cotton mouth when I can't afford water. So then you're good with the chips, man. But yeah, where'd you go to school?
So I finished up high school in New Hampshire, and then went to college up there, Keene State, Keene, and it's a small state school. I majored in theater there. I thought about majoring in music, but music was always my number one passion, and I knew that formal education would suck all of my passion out of whatever I was studying. So I went with theater, which I was a little less passionate about.
Beautiful up there? Or just all racist?
No, New Hampshire is very pretty. New England's really pretty in general, like Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, parts of Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Yeah, New England is gorgeous. I'm actually going up again this summer for a while.
Yeah,
so I'm excited to get to take in a lot of that beauty again.
Nice. Yeah, it's beautiful country. I love like upstate New York and all that. It's just like, or just the whole scenery, that whole region is just really, really beautiful. Well, cool, man. I'm going to read something real quick. I mean, it's not like some life-changing thing. It's just like I said it earlier, and I'm going to do it. Bourgeois Mystics. And that's what it's about. I can't even read one sentence. Genres: rock, Afro-Beat, dance, world fusion, hip-hop, surf, prog-rock, disco, funk. I would say that's 100%, and you got all the crazy names on here. I'd say that's 100% accurate. And you mentioned dance. We obviously talked about hip-hop. We talked about rock. Your absolute passion of butt rock. But then there's, the disco, the funk, prog. I just love the mesh of music, man, because it is cool. It is movable, and there's that hip-hop dance thing that you have in that fun. And I could see why someone, definitely Chili Peppers, or someone would say 311, or maybe someone would say Sublime or something. That'd be a huge insult to you. I have no idea. But there's so much though. Then there's just it's like there's that plus the Zappa Bungle thing plus this. And then the worldly. I mean, it's just all of a sudden it's a country guitar solo. I mean, it's freaking awesome, man. So yeah, big dive in, man. I am. I told him when I got on here too. I was just like, shit, man. I wish I'd have listened to more of your music. Like I listened to a handful of songs. I just, this shit's like super awesome. So I'm just gonna do a deep dive. Album, the album if I don't kill myself. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, the course of music forever. Nobody will ever listen to music again because our album is that terrible.
There will be two things. We'll have two choices in the global, in the Jew-run, corporate, in the future, right? And then the only options anybody will have will be Bourgeois Mystics or Nickelback, and that's it. There's no in between.
Yeah, but I mean, pretty much once we release this album, people will realize that there's nowhere else to go musically, so they'll just give up. And that's the last.
I've already quit, album ever and I got to thank you for it. I'm tired. Yeah. I'm tired of beating my head against the wall trying to be a musician. It's ridiculous. So thank you for playing music that's so amazing that I was like, good, I can quit now.
My pleasure. And honestly, welcome everybody else.
That's what I do. I destroy dreams.
I'm so glad that I could do that for the world.
I eat vegan food and destroy dreams. Yeah, man, you're going to get so much fucking dick when this album drops, dude. It's going to be insane. It's not even single digits anymore. It's like millions of dicks. Just a tentacle.
Yeah, people often talk about.
We can retire the podcast.
People usually talk about buckets of cum, but we're gonna have buckets of dick, buckets and buckets.
I think, Vic, we were kind of starting to in the last few episodes, we were starting to get pretty serious, and we were interviewing people and talking about we sounded like adults, like grown-ups. And so I really have to thank our guest Zaalo for just completely tearing that down and bringing us back to our true selves, where we can just talk about dick and tentacle porn and say, make a poop joke within 3 minutes, rants. I've incriminated myself 100 times on this podcast, like I always.
Anti-gun crusades. This is great. Yeah,
thank you for joining us.
This has been fun.
Yeah, the whole thing, just as it was planned. Yeah, man. So everybody. Zaalo, aka, dude, say your name.
Yeah, you keep fucking it up, and I keep being like,
should I
interrupt him?
I'm so disgusted with. That's why I keep saying him and you and
no
bro.
No problem, skunk. Main hatan.
Bud. Hey,
I'm gonna go with skunk. Skunk.
I'll start doing that shit.
Main hatan.
Skunk.
Main hatan. No, my name is Zaalo.
I like that.
Ba black sheep. Za, and then low, like Lil Jon, get low, but it's a short O. Zaalo. I'm going to wander down the streets of Vegas tonight just yelling Zaalo. Just
over
honestly,
and over and over.
like picture the butthole retracting, and that's how you say my name. Zaalo.
Okay. God, if you would just said that 2 hours ago, I'd have fucking had it, dude.
I'll ask you in 2 more hours and see if that's actually holds up.
Yeah, you'll have to message me in 2 hours and check on my butthole. So everybody, we're going to wrap up there. Keep your buttholes tight. Listen to the Bourgeois Mystics. They're online. I think there's a .com.
BourgeoisMystics.com.
Yeah, there's
Bourgeois
a .com,
Mystics
right?
on Facebook, Instagram.
You got the socials.
Good luck spelling bourgeois. If you know how to spell it, you're likely a scholar. If you don't, you're likely a scrub.
Or a skunk, whatever. You're a skunk if you can't spell. I had to Google it like 8 times. This happens to me all the time. I get all mad Googling shit, and I was like, God, why do you have to use this fancy ass fucking name for his band? I don't know how to spell this shit. And I'm all over here like, Geo is.
Good job, fish.
Geo is. Geo is. And then I saw your name, and I was like, this is going to be a fucked up podcast.
I have 2 questions before we sign off. A, does anyone actually listen to this podcast? And B,
no.
Okay, thank God. And second, who's your target audience?
Yeah, you just wasted 2 hours of your life.
Second is, who's your target audience?
It's all skunks friends.
I don't fucking know. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. I'm in Las Vegas with a $100 bill, goddammit. But hey, thanks for coming. I'll tell you one thing, man. I love meeting people and musicians and artistic people of talent. And so thank you for coming on here and doing this. Honestly, like, if for no other reason, Vic and I do this because that's how we met, like, I don't know, 15 whatever years ago, just as music fans. And I just love meeting musicians. I love playing.
Talked about Nickelback, Yeah,
and then just shooting the shit with people, man, and having a good time and, incriminating ourselves. So don't worry. No one will ever know about your love of butt rock and dicks because no one will hear this. But we really enjoyed talking to you anyway. Bourgeois Mystics, nobody. Until next time, or not, this is Skunk Manhattan, Vike, and this fucking guy. All right. Later.
Later.
Hey folks, that concludes another episode of the podcast. Guest links will be available in the show notes. We'd like to thank our friends at Top Shelf Music for showcasing the podcast on their site. Be sure and check them out at topshelfmusicmag.com for the latest music news, reviews, and events. We'd also like to thank the folks over at Tragan Guitars, Godin Guitars, Ernie Ball Strings, and 5 Iron Woodworks. Have a great week and catch you on the next one.